What's up guys? Welcome back. As you may know, I have a tiny RC car called the Sandyland. The Sandyland started out as a cheap brushed RC truck, but I've been doing all sorts of upgrades on it to turn it into a super fast brushless racer. In today's video, I'm going to be doing 2 more upgrades on it to make it even faster and more tough. I'm going to be putting on an XT-60 connector, which will let us run more powerful batteries, and I'm also going to be putting in some metal differentials to make it tougher. If you guys want to see the other upgrades that I've done on it, there'll be a link to the playlist coming across right there. Enjoy the video. Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be doing 2 more upgrades on the tiny Sandyland car. I'm going to be putting in one of these new XT-60 connectors, which will let us run some of these nicer batteries here, and I'm also going to be putting in these metal differentials, which will be a lot tougher. Now before we do that though, I actually have done 2 other upgrades since the last video with the Sandyland. So the first one is I've put on these new tires. These are ones for the Trax Titan, and you can see they have a lot more tread and they're going to be a lot more durable. I've also adjusted the settings on the ESC. You may remember that when I first put in the brushless motor, it wouldn't go backwards, and I couldn't fix it because all the instructions were in Chinese. But a few days after I uploaded that video, the people who sold me the motor sent me an email with some English instructions, so I fixed the motor and now it goes forward and backwards. So the first upgrade we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to be soldering on this XT-60 connector, which will let us run these batteries. So let's do it. Alright, so we've got the new XT-60 connector all soldered on. You can see it looks real nice because the soldering is all protected inside of this little plastic thing that's held on with this electrical tape. But here's the best part. Check out what happens if we plug it in. The car turns on, and it doesn't even electrocute me or catch fire, which is a very pleasant surprise indeed. So this connector is going to be really great because it'll let us run these batteries right here. So these ones have a much higher capacity than the stock ones, and they're just a higher quality brand, so they should perform better in general. But the real reason I wanted to put on this XT-60 connector was so that I could run this battery right here. This is a 3-cell LiPo, and the stock ones are only 2 cells, so with this thing in, the car is really going to go super fast. We do have a bit of an issue though. Look, the battery does not quite fit. It's just ever so slightly too long. But fortunately, that's not a problem because we've got some Velcro. Alright, what do you guys think? This is my Velcro battery hold down, and it's fairly simple to put in. You just put the battery on like this, bring the 2 straps over the top, and then lift this one up over the side, and now the battery's in. And you can see it's not going to come out. Like, you can shake it and flip it around and stuff, and it's in there. Personally, I actually like this a lot more than the stock battery hold down, and now the car is completely clipless. So the next upgrade I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be putting in these new differentials. Now these ones are exactly the same as the stock ones, except for they're metal instead of plastic, so they're a lot tougher, and we're definitely going to want that when we're running the car on 3S. One thing I am noticing though about these is they're really loose. Like look, if you turn one side, the other one turns with pretty much no effort at all. And that's okay, you can run the car like this, but if one wheel starts to slip, it'll just unload all the power to that one, which is not great for handling. So what I'm going to do to fix that is I'm going to open up one of these and I'm going to fill it up with grease just to firm it up a bit. Alright, so I just filled this one up. So you can see it does still turn fairly easily, but compared to the one that doesn't have any grease in it at all, it is really quite firm. So I'm going to put the one that has grease in it in the back for better handling, and then I'm going to put this one that doesn't have any grease in it in the front, because the front wheels need to move a lot more independently for steering. So putting in these new diffs is actually really simple. All you need is a screwdriver. So the first thing that you want to do is take off this thing right here that covers up the center drive shaft. So that you just need to take off these 2 screws right here, these 2 screws right here, and this screw. And on the front, you need to take off these 2 screws right here, and these 2 screws right here. By the way guys, if you're doing this on a stock unupgraded Sandyland, it's going to be a lot easier because you're not going to have to deal with all these wires everywhere. So once all those screws are off, you can just lift up this thing right here. And if you have an unupgraded Sandyland, then it'll come all the way off, but this one is connected with all these wires. So the next thing you need to do is you need to take off these 2 screws right here, and these 2 screws right here. If you're doing this on the front, then it's these 2 screws right here, and these 2 screws right here. Next you have to take off these 2 screws right here, and on the front, if you're doing this, it's these 2 screws right here. So once you have all those screws off, you can literally just lift it up like this, and that reveals the differential right there. So then all you have to do is just lift this one out, and put the new one in. Also, by the way, make sure the new differential is facing the same way as the old one, or else the wheels will go backwards. So then you just have to do the exact same thing in reverse. Just put this on. But before you put back on the shock absorbers, you want to put back in the drive shafts first, which is fairly easy. You just stick them into these slots, and stick the other end into the slot on the wheel. Then just reattach the linkages, and then put the shock absorbers back on. And then you just need to put the cover back on. So first put it on and make sure it's lined up all right. You want to keep an eye on this part right here because this thing can sometimes come out of its seat and then it's really hard to line up the cover right again. And you just want to put back all your screws where they originally went. So you want to put 2 right here, 2 right here, 1 right here, and the front in the same spot, 2 right here, and 2 right here. So once you have all your screws back on, then you're done. By the way, guys, if you're going to be doing this in the front, it's exactly the same as doing it in the back. It looks a lot more complicated because there's all this steering stuff in the way, but if you look, you'll find that they're the exact same parts in the front, and it's the exact same process to do it in the front as it is in the back. So now that Sandyland has a new connector, some new batteries, and some new differentials, so let's take it out and give it a test. Alright, so here's the car on one of those new 2S LiPos I got for it. Pretty nice, alright. Here's the 3S. Jeez, this thing's gonna fly. Although even after just a few seconds running it on the 3S, the motor is feeling a little bit warm. Like not hot, but warmer than room temperature. So I'm gonna be running this mostly on 2S. So there it is, new batteries and differentials for the Sandyland. These are two really great upgrades, and I am super happy with how they turned out. And I am especially happy with these new batteries for a lot of reasons. So for starters, these new batteries run for a lot longer. You may remember that when I first put in the brushless motor and I was running the car on the stock batteries, they would only last for about 3 minutes before I had to recharge them. But with these batteries, I'm actually able to get some runtime out of the car. The other great thing about these is they're super fast. They feel about twice as fast as the stock batteries, which is really awesome, but it's also a bit crazy because these new batteries are 2S, just like the stock ones, so they should have the same voltage. Now, I knew that these stock batteries were not very good, but I really did not think that they were this bad. So for sure, if you're doing upgrades on your Sandyland, new batteries should be one of the first things you do. Now, even with these new batteries though, there is still one thing that's holding back the performance of the car, and that is heat. So this motor is not very good at keeping itself cool, and that's not an issue when it's running the stock batteries because it never runs for long enough to get hot, but now that we're running these new batteries, it starts to bake. So the next upgrade that I'm probably going to do on this is going to be to put on a fan. But unfortunately, that is it for today's video. Thank you all very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.